Doesn't meditation just get you in the right mood for things?
Yes.
For those of you that are new, I like to tell a joke before I get started because, sometimes in Unity we talk about some pretty heady stuff, and I don't want you to get stuck in that. So I want to tell you about a frail old lady that was just going home after a Sunday night service, walked in her house and saw a burglar there. And the burglar started running away, and she said, "Acts 2:38." And he stopped in his tracks. And of course, Acts 2:38 is about repenting and being baptized. But he stopped in his tracks. And so with his back to her, and so she calmly got on the phone and called the police and said, "I've got a burglar here in my house. He's willing to turn himself in." And so the police come pretty fast, old lady there. And so they're arresting him and everything. And she tells the officer what happened. And the officer goes to the burglar, and says, "Why did you stop when she told you the scripture?" And he goes, "Scripture? She said she had an axe in 2:38. All right, let's say our statements of truth together. I am a child of God. I am deserving of good in my life. I am accepting my good now. Well, it's Easter 2015. I'm glad that you all are here. I hope you come back. I want to see this sanctuary at least this full from now on all this year. Because when we move, it's not going to look anything full like this, because we're going to have about 6 or 7, well, it will in time, you're right. But it'll be 6 or 7 times as many seats. So we need to be consistently coming and get going, yeah. But Easter has come to symbolize a lot of things. In our Western society, it's come to symbolize a lot of different things. It comes to symbolize Easter sales at the shopping center. It comes to symbolize bunnies and candy and Easter egg hunts and attending church the 1 or 2 times some people do it a year. We call those people CEOs, Christmas and Easter only. But that doesn't apply to anybody here. Doesn't apply to anybody here. But in Eastern society, Easter still has a very deep religious meaning and is viewed by most Christians with reverence, quite a bit of reverence. Now, nothing's wrong with either way you view Easter or how you express these things at Easter time. But the important thing to know is that if we as individuals are willing to open ourselves up to the most beautiful idea in life that Easter offers, we can learn a lot about our life. And that, of course, is the resurrection story. For many, as you know, maybe you're brought up this way, the resurrection story is talking about death and suffering. And maybe people get stuck in that and they live from that understanding. But perhaps the resurrection story can mean something different to you, and if it doesn't, then maybe I can help you today. Because the resurrection story is a lot more than just the ending of this physical part of life. In fact, if you look up resurrection on Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary, you'll see the first few definitions will be about the Easter story and how the Bible portrays it. But the third or fourth definition finally gives you a definition of resurrection, and it says this: resurrection, the act of causing something that had ended or been forgotten or lost to exist again, to be used again. It kind of changes the idea of resurrection, doesn't it? But that's a more accurate definition of the word resurrection. Because this definition lets us see that we as people do not have to physically die to be resurrected. An example would be something like, has there ever been a time in your life where you have not acted in a spiritual manner or from your spiritual basis? Or has there been a time when you did not act as the spiritual being that you are? Well, I'm looking around, and stay looking at me. Some of you are nodding your head yes, as if that's happened sometimes in your life, and there's others in here that have ascended to the ceiling that said, no, I've never done that. I've always acted for my spiritual beings. You can come down now. But wherever you are does not really make a difference, because when we understand what the resurrection is really about, or better yet, what resurrection actually is, we can all know that when we live from or when we forget our true nature, all we have to do is switch our mindset and remember it. And in an instant, we can be up with the others on the ceiling, looking down. Resurrection in Jesus' life and in your life is really, and a lot of people already know this, but it's really about life everlasting. It's not about death. It's not about suffering. Whether it is in this realm of understanding in our physical life, your life is never ending. That's why in Unity sometimes, if you've been to a Unity memorial or funeral, we won't say the person has died. We'll say they've made their transition. Because that's a more accurate statement of what has happened. The person has transitioned from this part of life, or physical understanding, back to a spiritual understanding and a spiritual life. Life is endless. In Jesus' case, he transitioned from the physical form of life back to a spiritual form of life in which he knew he came from. So he had the understanding already, even though he was in this physical form before they put him on the cross, that he came from something different. He was born from spirit. That spirit during his life, he understood that that spirit never left him. And that was his message, that it's in you too, and it's never left you. But Jesus was able, because he knew this, was able to visit this physical form of life after what many people at the time called death. Because he understood the spiritual laws supersede all physical laws. And when you have a clear spiritual understanding, when you have clarity about spiritual laws, you will have dominion over everything in the physical. So if we understand spiritual laws fully, we will have dominion over everything in the physical. And since we came here as spiritual beings to begin with, we had that at the first. And then somewhere along the way, we decided, oh, I don't want this anymore. It's too much responsibility for me, I guess. I don't know what the reason was, but we gave it away. But we really haven't given it away. We have just put it aside and ignored it. When we go to the ocean, we see a natural ebb and flow of the water along the shore, don't we? Have you ever thought about how much power is in the ocean? When you're there for any amount of time, you kind of think that. How much power this ocean has. And I'm sure that you've heard the analogy from many ministers, not only Unity, but the analogy that you are a drop of water from the ocean. And that you contain in that drop all the molecules, everything the same as the ocean. But sometimes we don't fully grasp what that means. What that means when we say that is all the power that is in the ocean is also in you. All that power that we're looking at in the ocean, that we're marveling at, is also in you. And I'm sure that you've heard that analogy before. But you are a part of the same natural ebb and flow. That's pretty cool. Is it going on its own? That's pretty neat. All that natural ebb and flow of life is in you, whether you recognize it or not. You have times where you are breathing in experiences you have experienced in life and shaping those experiences into one thing or another. Yet that inward breath, how are we clarifying that experience for ourselves? It is in this experience that is something of this world, a physical experience? Or are we looking at beneath the physical understanding of the experience and the underlying spiritual laws that are supporting that experience. It's very easy to do, very quickly to change our understanding, to change our thought pattern of it, isn't it? So when that is coming, say we're at the ocean, and when that tide is coming in and we're thinking about the power, how about thinking about all that we just talked about? About the power within that ocean, that underlying spiritual law that's supporting that is also in me. This is what we have to just retrain our minds to remember in order to have dominion over all physical experiences. It's where we came from. It's easy to do. We will never have full dominion as long as we react or respond to physical actions from a physical sense. To understand what is happening and why it is happening, we have to understand the spiritual law that underlies everything. You began life before this physical experience, just like Jesus did. And you will continue on your life's experience, your life's journey, after this physical experience, just like Jesus did. And in order to make this part of life the heaven on earth that it was intended to be, and that Jesus taught about, we must take hold of that power that we were entrusted with when we were born as children of God. As you came in this morning, you chose a flower or were handed one into the sanctuary, and you came into the sanctuary. There is special meaning for each of these flowers. There are two kinds of flowers that you could have chose from. Don't ask me to tell you which one you chose, because I wouldn't be able to. I know I've got a carnation, don't I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, hey.
That's a daisy, okay. Thank you. All right, I've got daisies and carnation. Well, up here we're going to have on here the meaning of both of those. You don't have them both on the same screen? Okay. So I'm going to read this to you then, so you can know it as you come forward. The greeters are going to help you come forward here in a second. Daisies, it's not just the secular world that, this is the underlying meaning. It's not just the secular world that has adopted the daisy as a symbol of innocence. In Christianity, the daisy has also been employed as a symbol to represent the Christ child. We see evidence of this specifically in Renaissance paintings where the daisy replaces the lily. Carnations, with a hit, and listen, if you don't like the one you chose, you can get another one, okay? Carnations, with a history that dates back more than 2,000 years, it's not surprising that carnations are rich with symbolism, mythology, and even debate. Today, carnations express love, fascination, admiration, and good luck. So as the greeters come forward and going to assist you in pinning your flower to the wheel of life, the circle of life, I want you to think about accepting the power that you already have, but accepting that power right now as a child of God that you are. So let's play some music while we do this.
Yep.
Bring it back.
I want you to let the people in the back row come first. That's what you got. Where's your name? Okay, so just to let you know, you're placing your flower on the circle of life, and we're going to set this outside after the end of service. Then you are free to take a flower with you if you want, and we have plenty of extras. Are you getting another one? No, you're supposed to pin that on there. Listen, I just said the instructions. Yes, you're pinning your flower on there, and then you feel free to take one when you leave. No, it's not. If you've never done it before, then it's a new thing. Yeah. Also, too, if you want to put one up there for a loved one, Diane will have bowl, and you can grab an extra one too. Yeah, they did that already.
Bill.
Okay, great. Look at what you've done. Now I want you to see. I want you to see the beauty of the circle of life, and I want you to also look at your neighbors. As uncomfortable as that may be, look at your neighbors. That is just, if not more, beautiful than this is.
Yes.
You know, I'm so happy to be a part of a church that looks like this. The most important thing to me, of course, is the inner knowing that you all have, the consciousness that we have as a church. But also the outer expression of God in the physical sense. I'm very happy to be a part of you. And Francie is too. So thank you for doing that. Now, are you ready to accept your power?
Yes.
Good. One curious thing about accepting your power is that it leads us on a path that is very simple to understand and yet not always easy. A path that is exciting yet sometimes frustrating. Learning more about the spiritual being that you are seems like it will take time away from other things in your life. But the truth is, it adds time to your life. Everything in your life will ebb and flow without much effort on your part. Because when you are living from a spiritual knowing, a spiritual sense, a spiritual understanding, then you are in your natural state of being. And when things go easier for you, we all know this, don't they go faster?
Yes.
Just like the athlete, of course you know I'm going to have to make an athlete reference. Just like the athlete, though, that he gets in the zone and can seemingly do anything in their chosen sport. It's not like they got lucky. He or she just got lucky. It is because he or she has practiced over and over to be able to achieve that perfection at times in his or her life. And that's all we have to do, is practice. Practice to getting back to what we already know. The great thing about our spirituality is that it doesn't take that much practice to get back to our original beingness, our original knowing that we came from. All we have to do is pay attention to how we look at our own life. Do we look at life as the old resurrection story about pain and suffering and death? Or do we look at our life more from an accurate understanding of the resurrection in life everlasting? You came here on this earth as the perfect image and likeness of God. I mean, everybody hears that, and we hear that in Christianity, and we all agree with that. Yes, I did, I'm the perfect image and likeness of God. Yet, for some reason, we live a life that says, God must have made a mistake with me. God didn't make a mistake with you. Not in any way, shape, or form. You are the perfect expression of God as you. And only you can express what God needs to express on this earth through you. Accepting that responsibility for your greatness just is a natural expression of who you are. This is why it is easier for us to express from our spiritual beingness than to try to struggle by trying to make things happen a specific way. In Unity, we look at Jesus, the man, as our way shower. Oh, yeah. That would be Jesus today. And that's good. But he showed us a way to live a spiritual life here on earth. And the Christ in unity refers to that spiritual aspect that Jesus found out about himself. And I hope that this doesn't come to too much of a surprise to anyone in here, but Christ was not Jesus' last name. The Christ is what people, well after Jesus lived, have named the Spirit that Jesus discovered about himself. And the funny thing is that those same scholars sometimes conveniently forget that once Jesus discovered this about himself and started living from this awareness, he saw it in everyone else. He saw that everyone else had that same Spirit that he had discovered within himself, the Christ, if you will, inside of it. And near the end of Jesus' lifetime, here on earth, he was trying to let everyone know about that Christ that dwelled within them. He said this near the end of his life, and it's from the Gospel of John, it's chapter 16. I have yet many things to say unto you, but you cannot hear them now. Nevertheless, when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth. For he shall not speak